You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 266 of Podketeers. This week we're celebrating because not only was it Disneyland's birthday, but Marvel Studios just earned a very special place in cinematic history. We also talk a little bit about the Toy Story franchise and how it started and how it came to be what it is today. We did have a chance to record the celebration at Disneyland, by the way, so if you want to check out the video, it is in the blog post for this episode over at podketeers.com/266. If you have any questions or comments on anything that we talk about, we'd love for you to join the conversation and give us your thoughts by leaving a comment on the blog post or on Instagram, Facebook, or on Twitter. Just search for Podketeers. Oh, also, to everyone that has contributed to our efforts to raise money for Chalk, thank you very, very much. We're going to be holding some auctions as part of our fundraising efforts. The first piece will be a 12x18 print of the Millennium Falcon from Galaxy's Edge. So make sure that you're following us on social media so you know when that is available, along with the details about the auction. Just search for Podketeers. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. You can also find info on joining our team or even making a small donation to help our efforts to help the children of Chalk by going to teamboatwilly.com. I can't keep going without taking a moment to extend a very special thank you to an awesome group of people that we call our podcast Fairy Godparents, or simply the FGP Squad, because it's their monthly support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. If you like our podcast and would like to help us grow, you can check out podketeers.com/FGP for more info on how you can join the FGP Squad or even provide a one-time donation. Once again, to all of the members of the FGP Squad, we just want to say thank you for your support. Alright, so as Sheriff Woody would say, let's ride like the wind, Bullseye, and let's jump into the podcast. Here is episode 266 of Podketeers. Woo! What are we celebrating, Gavin?
Disneyland's birthday?
Yes, Disneyland's birthday.
My return to the resort after a long hiatus.
Oh yeah, that too. But
yeah,
I mean, you know where I'm getting at. You're just teasing me here.
Yeah,
I know you know.
Your movie that needed to stand on the shoulders of 10 other movies or 20 other movies finally toppled the movie that only needed itself. But whatever.
Over the course of 10 years, yes. Yes, it is official. Avengers Endgame has finally toppled Avatar as the #1 grossing film of all time. And I'm just absolutely giddy about it. Congratulations to everyone at Marvel. This does pose an interesting dilemma because with the next chapter of Avatar coming soon, we know that Disney and James Cameron is working on that. We have Pandora. I mean, they just lost one of the biggest marketing angles that they could have used for a film that essentially nobody's really cared about for over a decade.
What do you mean they just lost an angle?
Well, because they had the highest grossing film of all time has returned.
Yeah, they could have marketed it that way.
And now they can't.
I get it.
You know, do you think that in 2020 or whenever the next Avatar film just happens to be released, do you think people are really chomping at the bit to see another Avatar film?
Well, gosh, that question brings up so many thoughts in my mind. You don't realize the can that you just opened here. So initial reaction is I'm not right now excited about any sequels. Like, I'm so tired of sequels. I'm done with it. You know, what was cool about Avatar, it was a singular standalone, didn't rely on anything. It was just this big, broad, grandiose mega hit, and I enjoyed it, right? So my first reaction is, no, I'm not as excited about a sequel. I'm going to watch it because I do love Avatar. But the other thing is, like, I don't know that is a big motivator for people to go. to a movie. Like, for example, let's talk about Frozen 2, another sequel. Do you think that part of their marketing should be the highest grossing animated film of all time? Do you think that's going to get more people to watch Frozen 2?
In some instances, I think it will.
I just don't think that works.
But that's a little different because I don't think they need to market Frozen in that fashion, because the children that enjoyed Frozen 1 will be the ones to drive the marketing for Frozen 2.
Sure, but they're all going to be, 6 years older?
In some cases, but they're still in that sweet spot of, liking it. I mean, Avatar, a lot of those people have outgrown the film in most cases. Unless you're absolutely nerdy about computer animation or giant Smurf people. I don't know.
Whoa, bro. Come on now. I mean, no, I get it. And the other thing is, it's always mystified me why they've waited so long. And, James Cameron, pushed back the timeline over and over and over again. And now we're supposed to get 4 new Avatar movies, and they're going to come out a full decade after the first one. So, are we really calling these sequels, or is this the start of something new that just happens to be set in the same world? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so on that level, that kind of gets me excited. But if we're supposed to be just revisiting the same old characters, I don't really buy it now.
Yeah.
It's like Godfather 3. They waited 20 years too long.
Yeah. No, that's actually a great analogy.
Right? I don't know. It's crazy because I really, really like, for the most part, James Cameron as a filmmaker. I really loved Titanic. I really loved Avatar. He does these just big mega pieces. He doesn't do a movie every other year, like so many directors. He picks his projects. He puts all of his heart and soul and his whole company into it. And they make these big, impressive pieces. And as a visual nut, I go to those movies looking for the eye candy, and he delivers that, and that's what I enjoy. So yeah, on a visual level, I'm super pumped about what they're doing, because I know that he had standards of visualization that he wanted to get perfect with these films. And that's part of the reason why they kept pushing things back, was because technology has been advancing so fast recently. So man, it's crazy. My gut says, no more sequels, give us something new. But my brain is like, remember, this is James Cameron, and you loved Avatar, so shut up. So I don't know. I'm torn.
I totally get what you're saying, because he does have a really impressive track record of just pulling out these blockbuster hits, with every project that he does. So I think on that level, we are going to be in for something absolutely amazing. Visually, I don't know what to expect. I know that the first Avatar was impressive, and it was just a feat on its own. And the leaps and bounds that technology has taken since the first Avatar, I am curious to see exactly what we're going to get in these upcoming films. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I know really that I feel is going to be certain is that there's going to be a tie-in to Pandora at Walt Disney World.
Sure.
There's obviously going to be some kind of tie-in, and there's might be characters that we're going to be introduced in the film that we're going to start seeing, or that are going to become canon. And I know that tie-in is going to happen, obviously, but it will be interesting to see what they look like, because I feel like if he comes back with the same type of animation and there isn't a lot of digital advancement there, it's going to be a little disappointing to a lot of people.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. It can't be the same story that's just populated with archetypal characters, and it was a very basic story that's been told 1,000 times. You could relate it to a million different examples in history and in movies. It wasn't that it was a new story. It was that he took us to this new world and showed us this amazing new place, and we got to experience it through characters in a different way via the Avatar program.
Yeah.
So that's where he's great, is that he shows us things from a new angle. Nobody ever told us a story about the Titanic the way he told us that story, through two people falling in love. You know, that's why he's so good at what he does.
Right. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But again, I'm looking forward to the congratulatory cartoon or whatever's going to be put out by his company congratulating Avengers. You know, I guess that there was a lot of people going back and forth on whether or not this was Endgame's first run or not, because even Marvel, when they did the quote-unquote re-release with the added footage and they, tacked it onto stuff with Spider-Man Far From Home, they called it a re-release, but it technically never left theaters. There was still theaters showing that original version.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think it ever left, really.
So to me, it doesn't feel like a re-release, which Avatar actually had a re-release a year later and then some. So I almost feel like Endgame did it in its first release.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. It's interesting. If you would have said, just think, this is a random trivial thing that just came to my brain. It's probably stupid, but if somebody told you, let's just go back 10 years before Avatar is released, that the top 2 grossing movies of all time would both start with the letters AV. like you'd be like, what? AV? What could that even be, right?
The AV Club strikes again.
I get it's weird. So like the cartoon could be Avatar, but the atar is scratched out and it's just Engers.
That's funny. I mean, also, who would have thought that these cartoonish comic book films would be the top grossing films of all time?
Yeah, that's true.
So, again, congratulations to everyone at Marvel. I think I finally have a sense of how people feel when they say, yeah, our team won. Yes, we did it. Go, local sports team. Like, I finally have that sense of, we did it, guys.
Nice.
Way to go. So, super happy.
That's cool. Well, I'm happy for you. I've had the championship on Team Avatar for about 10 years now, so it's time to hand over the mantle.
Fair enough. It is going to be interesting to see how long Endgame can hold on to this. Because if Avatar did it once...
Yeah, but it's not going to do what that first one did. I can't imagine that it will. I think this one's going to be in place for a similar timeline, 10 years at least, man. There's nothing on the horizon that's even building towards that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have it for a good many years.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So this week, so full of stuff to talk about. Comic-Con is going on, and there's so many announcements. We're going to be talking about some of those announcements in next week's episode because we just have a ton of stuff to talk about this week. One thing that did disappoint me this week, Gavin, was that I saw the schedule of things that's happening at D23, and I was already bummed out that I'm not going to be able to go on Saturday. And then I found out that the panel for the Haunted Mansion is happening on Saturday.
And that's one of their big ones. They're doing it in the arena.
It's in the arena, yeah.
I know.
Haunted Mansion celebrating 50 years. I was so crushed. I can't even begin to tell you. I was in the fetal position. I was sobbing frantically for at least 999 minutes. I honestly don't know how to cope with this right now. I'm still feeling the effects.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Get that early bird ticket in 2 years.
I know.
Don't wait.
I know.
Don't wait.
I'm just 2 years, two expos in a row that I'm unable to go on a Saturday.
I know. What's weird, part of that same announcement was the Parks and Resorts show is going to be on Sunday. It's never been on Sunday before. Yeah. It's always been the headliner of day 2. And so that's kind of weird. But I think they're realizing that a lot of people are skipping out on Sunday and they want to have one of their biggies be on that day.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me because I feel like the 2 biggest there's 3 big ones. There's the Legends, obviously, and then they do their big movies panel where they talk about all the movies and they bring out all the, Avengers and whatnot. And then the Parks and Resorts show. Those are like the three big ones.
Right.
So I feel like they're kind of spreading it out more evenly this time, which is smart.
Yeah. Yeah, Sunday's always been the sleeper day. I always feel that whenever we've gone on Sunday, there's less to do. And there isn't as many people there as there are on Saturday and on Friday.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that I feel like there's going to be something that I'm really interested to see on Sunday, which is kind of the just hang out day and check out all of the booths and what you can buy or what you can lust for, because there's so many things that you would want to buy there that you just, there's so much. You just want that money bin that Uncle Scrooge is worth to just toss at everybody and just be like, here, take my money, give me your stuff,
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think getting a chance to attend on Friday and Sunday, I don't feel like I'm going to be missing out on a lot. I am going to have to go to therapy eventually for missing out on the Haunted Mansion panel on Saturday. I'm still hopeful that at some point tickets may just magically become available and they'll just say, hey, guess what? Some tickets just became available for Saturday. And I'll be like, ooh, I'm in. I will take one, please.
Nice. That would be cool.
Yeah. So I'm secretly hoping for something like that to happen. But, I mean, if it doesn't, I know you'll be there to report on it. And I'm just going to have to live with that until I figure out how to appropriately use the Eye of Agamotto and the Time Stone to reverse time sufficiently so that I can buy those early bird tickets next time.
Nice.
We need to move on because I'm getting sad here.
Cool.
Disneyland. So Disneyland celebrated its birthday this week. If you guys aren't following us on Twitter, Instagram, or on Facebook, we did post links to the YouTube videos, so check out our YouTube channel. Just search for Podketeers. Check out the other videos that we've posted. If you like it, of course, hit that like button. As they say, smash that subscribe button and ring that little bell icon for notifications so that you know whenever new videos are posted. It was really odd because I know you've heard me say before that whenever I'm taking pictures, that area where they put the Halloween pumpkin, super great for photos. Like, I love taking photos there of the parades. Horrible for videoing the parade.
Oh, why is that?
Because you get to hear the audio from the end of Main Street. You hear the track from in front of Walt's apartment, and you hear the track from in front of the Opera House. So as I was listening back to the audio of this YouTube video, I thought, wow, I hear 3 versions of this song playing, and it's all out of sync. And somebody even left a comment on the video saying, hey, the video's out of sync. I was like, it's actually not out of sync.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, horrible place if you're actually doing video or audio. Still one of the best places to take photographs. I still stand by that. But if you can get past that, the video of Soundsational's last day is on the YouTube channel. Plus, we posted the birthday celebration that they did for Disneyland. It had, of course, the ambassadors. It had the cavalcade of characters. It's one of my favorite moments in the park.
This is the year that Disneyland finally got to ask the question, will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? And the answer is a resounding yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Back to Soundsational though for a second. I saw a post this week from Kevin and Jody, who designed that parade, and they dropped a little nugget that I never noticed and never realized about the parade. In the greatest float in the parade, which should have been everybody's answer to your question last week, the Mary Poppins float. The moon, the big like crescent moon that a chimney sweep is sitting in, the face on that moon is a caricature of Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't see that post.
Check it out. Go to Kevin and Jody's Instagram. It's awesome.
Dude, that is so cool.
Yeah, I never recognized that before, but it totally is. You look at it, you're like, that's Dick Van Dyke, all right.
Oh, I'm going to have to go back and look at the photos that I took. Oh, man. Okay, well, I'm going to find the post. I'm going to put it in the blog post for the episode,
Cool.
podketeers.com/266 if you want to check that out. Oh, man, I'm so excited about that. I never knew that. That's such a cool piece of
Yeah,
trivia.
it's really cool.
That's awesome. Also, I know Disney has done this before. This is me now in rant mode, okay?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let me buckle
So
up here.
here we go. I'm wagging fingers here.
Whoa.
I know that Disney's done this before with the refillable popcorn buckets, the refillable cups and everything. This last week they released the AP tumbler that you can purchase for $14.99 and you can refill it for like $1. And that's great. I'm glad that they're doing this, except for the fact that it holds 1/3 of what the refillable cups at other theme parks holds for the same price. If you go to Knott's, you can purchase for $15 something that holds 36-ish, 32 ounces or something like that. You scan it every 15 minutes or whatever, and you can get like a $1 refill.
Yeah.
And this AP cup, it's a cool cup, but $15? Come on, Disney.
Well, let me actually counter with something because I feel like they kind of evened out the balance in the force because they also have installed around the resort filtered water dispensers.
Yeah, those
so
are
you
great.
can refill your own water bottles and not have to spend $8 on a water bottle. So I think that kind of balances it out and is awesome.
Well, little known fact and pro tip, if you're not anywhere near those, you can walk up to any counter and just ask for a cup of water.
Well, that's true too. But the fact that they've got these stations where you can fill up your big old water bottle that you brought is amazing. They even have those inside Smuggler's Run
I've
when
seen
you're
it, yeah.
in the exit tunnels.
I've seen it, yeah.
Because some of those tunnels, depending on where you exit, are pretty long.
Yeah.
And you have to wind your way out, and they've got them in there of
Yeah.
all places. I thought that was really cool.
Isn't there another one in the marketplace?
Yes,
Yeah, there's one
a
in the
big one at the
marketplace.
end of the marketplace on the Rise of the Rebellion side of things,
yeah.
or Rise of the Resistance.
Rise of the
sorry.
Resistance, yeah. And then there's obviously the one next to Autopia. And I think we're going to see a lot more of these popping up
Yeah.
around the park. I do agree with you. I think it is a really great thing that they're doing. Maybe they're just getting sick of people wasting cups. Maybe it's a way for them to reduce their carbon footprint, which we've seen a lot
Sure.
of them doing in the last year and a half. But come on, man, $15 for that cup. I'm saying, look, I'm all for these things. I love Disney and everything that they do. I am one of the first people in line for some of those things, but at the same time, I'm also a consumer, and I'm a consumer that has to purchase several of these things at a time. So when I see how much that piles up, I just think to myself, this isn't the best value per se. Also, in the last couple weeks, they released these like little AP buttons that you can get anytime you go dine at one of these specific locations. I don't care about
I didn't know
button.
that.
I don't care about a button, though. Give me the ability to earn points whenever I mobile order. And after X amount of points, give me a free meal. That is much more valuable to me than some button that says AP on it.
Do you get that button for free?
Yeah.
That's weird. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, it's only at certain locations. I'll have to find their post, and if I find the information,
Interesting.
I don't even know if they're still doing it. But if they are, I'll definitely put it in the blog post for the episode. But overall, like I said, give me some kind of point system. Give me something where I'm earning something that's more valuable to me outside of this button. I know that there's button collectors and there's pin collectors, but I mean, it looks like a generic button that you get like during the Food and Wine Festival. You know what I mean? There's nothing to it outside of the fact that it just says like Disney AP on it.
Yeah, honestly, I have never bought any of the AP exclusive merchandise because it all has AP or annual pass holder on it. Like, just give me some cool, unique design that only annual pass holders can get. You don't have to put AP on it.
Yeah.
Like that kind of ruins it for me. I've never bought any of the AP stuff because of that.
Yeah. I think the newest thing that they're offering is that now you can go into certain locations and have them stitch the AP like logo badge onto a piece of clothing.
Yeah.
So
I'm not surprised by that.
Again, I like the stuff that they put out. I like, when they offer these collectibles and everything, but personally, I think the cup is too small. It's a nice looking tumbler, but if it was twice the size, I think I would have gotten more value out of it because I drink a lot. And even if I filled it up with the water from those machines, I think I would have gotten more value from it. But, it is what it is. We still bought 3.
Dang.
Well, we have to. We have the kids, and it was hot, so we still got 3. But that's
so
rant
what
over.
that means, though, is that because I guarantee you guys had more at home, right? You just didn't bring them, like previous ones.
Cups. I mean, the only other cups that we have are usually like the mugs the plastic mugs that they have like the hot chocolate and stuff like that in. We don't have a lot of cups per se. We have a lot of the popcorn buckets. And a lot of the shaped popcorn buckets, especially. But cups, we don't have that many of. Primarily for the same reason, because I've always felt that they're too small. When I saw the picture of this one, I thought, yay, they're finally doing this refillable thing that everybody else has been doing for at least a decade. And then I saw the size, and it crushed me a little bit. But not as much as not going to the Haunted Mansion panel on Saturday for D23 has crushed me. So overall...
And we're back.
So overall, I'm okay with it. I mean, I had to be okay. We got 3 of them, right? So
yeah.
Plus, I think you may have experienced this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this week when we went to Disneyland, I didn't see the crowd levels at these ghost town levels that everybody's been talking about.
Yeah, I think our golden month or golden 5 weeks has definitely ended at this point. Everybody figured out that the Star Wars expansion did not bring in the droves of people that they were fearing and have now returned to the park. So Peter Pan is 4 hours again.
Yeah, as it should be.
My experience was the same, man. It's been it's been almost a month and a half since I was there, and I kept hearing about these amazing crowd levels, and I was excited to go this past Saturday, and it was a regular Disneyland day filled with people. Mm-hmm. So I had my fun, but it wasn't the magical dead time that everybody had been talking about.
It wasn't 5 minutes.
Right.
Type fun,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I always get there at rope drop, so that first hour and a half to 2 hours is... if you get there for those first 2 hours of the day, that's the golden 2 hours right there. You can do 5 to 10 e-ticket attractions in those first 2 hours, sometimes without even using a single fast pass.
Yeah.
That's the best time to be there. But as soon as 10 o'clock rolls around, crowd central.
True.
They start flooding in and getting in your way with their people.
With their $14 AP tumblers.
Their $14 tiny tumblers.
And their Imagination Pink ears.
Oh my gosh, I am obsessed with Imagination Pink. It's the best new color. I love it.
It does seem to look nicer than the rose gold and some of these other things that they've put out recently.
Yeah, the rose gold was only so-so to me. Like, it was okay. Potion Purple was super awesome.
Yeah.
I loved Potion Purple.
Why was that so short-lived? I feel that Rose Gold went on for 7 years, and Potion Purple
Rose
went on
Gold
for like
was
6 or 7 months.
Well, because Rose Gold was like a larger cultural thing. Like iPhones and stuff were Rose Gold, right? Like that was everywhere.
Yeah, you're right.
Potion Purple was more of just a Disney created trend, right? It's basically just a park merchandise trend. And Imagination Pink is in the same vein. But it lasted a good 6 months, I want to say, the Potion Purple, at least. So I loved it. It's time for new color, and I super dig Imagination Pink. It's kind of like a raspberry sherbet kind of color. I love it. It's so, so pretty to me. And I'm just waiting for that like iridescent orange or some kind of crazy orange, and I'm going to buy all the things. And I don't even care. I'm buying them all.
I mean, it might get there soon because orange is one of the main colors in the Three Caballeros, and we are seeing an influx in that property.
That's fair.
So you might
and we're seeing a ton
it.
of little orange bird stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like even in Disneyland, lots of little orange bird stuff. So maybe I can get my orange dream come true.
Word. And in the meantime, I will get my orange Dole Whip.
Nice.
Hey,
that's awesome.
Out of curiosity, where did you park?
I parked in the new luxury parking lot at the Disneyland Resort.
Oh my God. Let's talk about this because that's where we parked for the first time. Dude, it's absolutely gorgeous in there.
I totally agree. It makes Mickey and Friends look even junkier than it had kind of gotten to over the last year or so. And I'm hoping it means they're going to kind of plus up Mickey and Friends. But yeah, it's a totally different experience. They've got tech in there, which makes it very awesome. I like the way that it's arranged. I like that you exit right out onto a surface street instead of all those crazy merging on ramps, you know. So you get to exit and then turn onto Disney Way in a much more casual way. The escalator situation, the loading situation, everything feels like Disney. You know, it's nice, it's pretty, the signage is so much better. The loading area with its lighting, with its cool new Mickey chandelier light fixtures, and then the cool magical blue lighting above everything, and then that mural that spans the whole back wall that's basically just silhouettes of characters, kind of like what they did on Pixar Pier. I love it. I just think it's you don't feel like you've completely left the Disneyland Resort once you get there. You know, you feel like you're still touching the magic, you know, and you feel, if you're just arriving, you feel like you're already there. It has a great touch to it, and I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah. You know, one of the only things that I feel that were I designing the parking structure, the only thing that I would have added, unless it's coming in, you know, sometime soon since they're listening, was I would have added music attached to the properties of each level.
To
I've give you something,
you
know, to just listen to while you're, you know, walking to the escalator, the elevator, the stairs, whatever you're doing. I think that would enhance the magical aspect of each floor. Outside of that, the giant Luxo ball, like you said, the blue lighting, just the way that they've streamlined the flow of people into the metal detectors and into the loading zone for the tram. It's just, bravo.
And the fact that it's not just plastic folding tables, that they actually have built-in stations.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that's got to be the next move for the security at the borders of the park, right? Is like something more permanent.
Yeah.
Because, you know, hopefully they're not going to keep moving it to different locations. But yeah, it just seems so much more refined and nice.
Nice. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time there, obviously, because the flow was so well that, I mean, we were in and out within 5 or 6 minutes, you know, on our way into the resort, coming back, obviously. But it's picture worthy. I know for a fact it's picture worthy. I want to go back and just photograph all aspects. The way that they designed, I mean, we had already kind of seen some of the design work that they had done architecturally outside with the building and what looks like a giant helicopter slanted pad at the top of the escalators. But yeah, if you haven't had a chance to experience it, try to make an effort to park on that side and then make sure that you go onto the side of downtown Disney to use their escalators. If you walk towards Mickey and Friends, you're going to end up using the stairs, or you're going to have to wrap around to use the escalators coming down from Mickey and Friends. So if you want the full experience, walk towards downtown Disney, regardless of the floor that you're on, and you'll hit the escalators and the elevators in the parking structure for Pixar Pals. while you were at Disneyland, what'd you get a chance to do?
Really, I wanted to spend some time in Galaxy's Edge and do some exploring, because this was my first time back since my reservation, where, we only had 4 hours. And I got to walk around everywhere, basically, during that 4 hours, but I didn't really get to take my time and explore.
Yeah.
So my experience this time was largely around the datapad from the Disney Play app.
Oh, right on, dude.
And I got to experience a lot of that. I was hacking door panels around the land. I was scanning cargo. I was tuning into those radio towers and getting transmissions. So I have acquired outfits for my character. I've acquired a lot of different equipment, star maps. I'm building a map of the galaxy. I've received transmissions with data files for spaceships and droids. There is so much to do. And I haven't even scratched the surface, you know? Like, I walked around and felt like I had done a pretty clean sweep of all the things you could scan. And then I looked at the numbers because it'll tell you you've scanned X number out of X number available.
Yeah.
I'm not even close, dude. So either they haven't fully put everything out yet as they, open the second half of the land, or they've just done a really good and clever job about hiding things. So it's if you're interested in trying that out, it's going to keep you coming back time and time again to try and complete all these different things, because there's a lot there. I was worried after about the first couple hours. I felt like, I'm kind of getting through these really fast. But then you realize, wait, no, I'm nowhere close to getting through this. So I had fun just playing with that. I got to go on the Smuggler's Run a couple times while I was there. And of course, that's always amazing. But if you haven't tried out the datapad and really gotten into exploring that and experiencing the gamified things that they have in that land, I totally encourage you to do so, because it does add a different element that no other land has right now. It's really, really cool. The one thing I will say is that it is a power suck. It uses a lot of batteries. So if you don't have a external charger with you, use it in small spurts, because it will drain fast. I didn't have a charger with me, and for the last couple hours I was there, I was basically on radio silence because my phone was about to die.
Oh, crazy. I do have at least one achievement so far.
Ooh, what do you got?
I have Black Spire Explorer.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I unlocked it.
That's one of your titles?
It is. It's one of the special achievements that you
okay.
can get.
Under just the Play app.
Under just the Play app, yeah.
Yes.
As far as the datapad is concerned, I don't remember what it is, but I think one of them has to do with translating, because I was using the translator, and I was typing in the characters to try to figure out what some of those signs said. And so I think I got a badge that's associated with the translation portion of it.
Yep.
But that's pretty much...
You can translate any of the signs in the land, yeah.
Yeah. Outside of having to physically type in every single character, it would have been nice if they had some kind of like VR function, kind of like... I forgot what the Google version is called, but Samsung has it too. It's like Bixby Vision and stuff, where you hover over the item and it overlays a translation in real time. Like
cool.
People use that when they're traveling to other countries and it's translating signs and stuff for them. Something like that I think would have been super cool to see, especially since it's like all this technology. But considering that the story is, you're putting these things together from scraps maybe, or you're walking around and you're like a spy, I get it. It was cool. It was nice to experience. I do want to go back and play in the app the way that you've had a chance to, because I think as you progress, I think things unlock as you complete certain tasks, right?
Yep. That's true,
Yeah. So I don't know what the end game is, as far as how you actually finish, how often they're going to be adding things. But I know that it was originally set up so that you are part of the resistance or you're part of the First Order.
Or you can just be a scoundrel, like a free agent.
Oh, okay. That part I didn't know about.
Yeah, there's three kind of factions you can find yourself in.
And did you happen to ask if you can reset it once you finish the game? Because I know that was a question we had really early on.
I think I saw that you can, though, when you go to your profile somewhere. I don't remember exactly where it is, but
okay.
I feel like you can. I saw a setting for that when I was looking at it.
Well, that's good, because now you have 3 different experiences that you can have, you know, at different times. And if you don't go as frequently, or you don't plan on spending 12 hours there like you did, you know, it's going to keep you coming back for more, which is super awesome.
Yeah. If my battery wasn't dying, I would have stayed in there for hours more doing it. Like the one I took one job in line for the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction, and it was basically really just a tryout for a job, so it doesn't really count. But the real job that I took on was very difficult because you're actually playing live with other people in the land. And it was basically trying to secure or trying to nail down security for a section of the land. So this one was in the marketplace. And you basically had to go around and start hacking all the door panels and then installing a security defense either for the resistance or the First Order. And it was kind of like a game of tug of war, you know, so whoever's side ended up with the majority of the hacks by the time the game ended, or by some point, then, you know, that side won. And I felt like I was outnumbered by First Order people there, you know, because I kept hacking and I kept falling behind and I kept going. And so it's cool because you can actually see the effect of people playing live.
That's cool.
You know, you get it, and you start looking around and stormtroopers start walking through, and you put away your phone and you like hide. You're like, no, I'm cool. I'm not doing anything, because they grill people. They go around like, you know, they'll joke around or they'll do their thing, but they'll actually like grill people that are doing stuff. So it's fun, man. Like you get into it, you kind of feel like you're a spy, like you're like being incognito, and it's neat because the stuff will interact with you too. You know, when you interact with a door panel, like it'll start beeping and the lights will start changing, and you know that's when you're, you know, succeeding, and it's cool. It's a lot of fun.
I love it. I can't wait till I get a chance to experience that some more.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. We're gonna have to make a day out of it.
Oh yeah.
We'll just get a whole team together. And we'll just go, and we're going to try to take the First Order down.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
We're going to do it. We're
going to do it. Because, spoilers, I'm resistance all the way.
I've been known to bounty hunt, so...
That's cool. We can use a few scoundrels for our side.
Look, I just go with whoever pays me more.
That's funny.
My buddies Django and Boba have always been
nice.
Good at that.
I like it. I like it.
All right. Well, until we get an opportunity to go to Galaxy's Edge again, we'll keep you posted on any new things that we happen to see or experience in the Play app. I'm super excited to get a chance to try it out. But I think it's time to jump into our main topic for this week. What do you think?
Wait, before we do, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask our listeners a question as well.
Sure.
I wasn't able to find any information on it. You may have heard. But for a couple of months now, the harpsichord in the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction has been missing. And I don't know what's going on with it, but I want my harpsichord back. So whoever knows the whereabouts of the Pirates of the Caribbean harpsichord in the captain's quarters, I'd love to know, because I haven't found anything about it, but to me, it's a very prominent prop that has been missing for months at this point.
Wow, I didn't realize that it's been months since I've been on that attraction.
Yeah, I mean, it's been at least 2 months, maybe 3 months at this point that it's been missing.
Interesting.
So, Yeah, I keep going thinking surely it's back by now, but you still hear it. The music is still there, but there's no harpsichord.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know if they're using it for something else or if they're refurbishing it or something, but I will be super bummed if that goes away.
Yeah. Well, if anybody has some information on that you'd like to share with everybody, just DM us, send us a quick message, and if you don't want us to reveal who you are, we won't. We'll just one of our sources telling us. But yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know that it was gone. Like I said, I didn't realize that it's been that long since I've been on the attraction because the last time I got on, it was still there.
Okay. Yeah. It's gone.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna have to get a data pad and find that thing.
Indeed.
All right, well, before we jump into this week's topic, I do want to remind you that this episode of Podketeers is brought to you by the love and care of the wonderful folks that we like to call our podcast Fairy Godparents, the FGP Squad. If you would like a little bit more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad, it's super simple. Head over to podketeers.com/FGP. You'll find some information about what the FGP Squad is and a link to sign up through Patreon. With your monthly contributions, you are eligible to check out some of the private streams that we do, some of the private uploads and special podcast recordings that we do. Plus, you're entered into some of the giveaways that we've started doing for the FGP Squad. We're going to have a live stream coming up soon again for the FGP Squad, and so we're super psyched. The first one that we did last month just went as best as possibly could have. And I think from here on, we're just going to try to make them better and better. So to everyone on the FGP Squad, we just want to send a huge thank you for all of your support. And again, if you are interested in helping out the podcast because you just like what you hear, or you just want to help because that's the type of person that you are, podketeers.com/FGP is where you want to go for more information. Okay, so if you guys are new to the podcast, what we tend to do is every month we try to concentrate on a land, an attraction, and then after a few episodes of discussing that, we tend to have an armchair Imagineering session about that land or section, attraction. However, this month is going to be a little different. Over the next 3 weeks, we are going to be talking about Frontierland. We are going to do armchair Imagineering, but as you all know, recently Toy Story 4 came out. And Toy Story 4 has been kind of a long time coming. So we thought it would be a little fun to just give you a brief history of where the franchise came from, kind of how it all started, and just kind of wrap everything up now that we've officially wrapped the franchise up, crossing our fingers. But, this is kind of, it's just brief, it's not as long as some of the other segments that we've done. But I did want to say something that I feel is important before we start this part of the podcast, because given the situations about how things went down with John Lasseter at Disney and Pixar, I do want to make clear that we don't condone those actions. However, we do acknowledge that behind the topic of today's segment, there's a story, and the characters in the films that we got along the way are part of that story. And I say this because no matter where you stand regarding what happened to John Lasseter, there's no denying that he was one of the primary forces, if not the primary, to bring us Toy Story and ultimately the lineage of films that Pixar has brought us. So I'm going to do my best to tell that story while trying to be as respectful as possible to the situation at hand. So with that said, let's jump into the story of Toy Story. When we're children, we tend to have huge imaginations. Chairs and sheets become forts, boxes become spaceships, and this was probably the case for a boy growing up in Whittier, California. His Casper doll took the #1 spot as his bestest buddy, and soon a G.I. Joe doll came in to join the fun. A couple or so decades later, in 1983, that same boy was working as an animator at the only company that he wanted to work for, the Disney Company. He was an animator on Mickey's Christmas Carol, but when two of his close friends invited him to take a look at a project they were working on, his eyes lit up. That project was Tron.
Wow, 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 wow.
I knew that would widen your eyes.
Oh, I know it.
That day, John Lasseter left in awe at what he had seen, but it wasn't the film itself that made him feel that way. It was the potential that he saw in computer animation as a medium. Until then, computer animation was in its infancy and was really just a bunch of circles and dots and squares flying around in space. It was rudimentary, to say the least. That same year, John was essentially fired from the Disney company. And after a few phone calls and trying to find jobs, he went on to join Ed Catmull and Alvy Smith at a newly formed company called Pixar. Their mission was simple: to create the world's first computer-animated feature film. Of course, to do so would require a lot of work, which was seemingly impossible. But I bet that's what a lot of people told Walt Disney when he said that he wanted to create the world's first animated feature-length film. Snow White much? We've always known Pixar to be a company that has brought us innovation in the realm of computer animation, and this was certainly the case even when they started. A huge part of why John Lasseter joined Pixar was for his storytelling abilities, but in return, he learned a lot about how to use the software that Pixar was designing with, and the software they were creating. Their first animated short was a revolutionary film called The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. Considering that the original plan was to only create computer-generated backgrounds for the short, and went on to create everything, including the characters, this showed the Pixar team that they were onto something amazing. They now had a pretty solid foundation to learn from as they continued their quest to create a computer-animated feature-length film. Over the years, the team continued to hone their skills, creating award-winning pieces like Luxo Jr., Red's Dream, Tin Toy, and Knick Knack. They went on to create television commercials for juice, mouthwash, lottery tickets, cars, and toys, just to name a few items. But with every piece that they put out, they got closer and closer to their original goal. In the early 90s, Disney was exploring new forms of media and video production, and Pixar just happened to catch their eye. But after losing money, after this really bad divorce that George Lucas went through, he decided to sell off Pixar. Steve Jobs picked it up.
It's an insane lineage of ownership right there.
Isn't it? You start off with George Lucas, you go off to Steve Jobs, and eventually it becomes part of the Disney company.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert. Not having much experience in the 3D realm, it was really the success of Nightmare Before Christmas that opened the doors to Disney working with another outside company. They were so impressed that Disney and Pixar went on to pen a historic $26 million deal to produce 3 computer animated films. The first was Toy Story. Although the company had come pretty far from where they had first started, at that time computer animation still suffered from many technological limitations. Regardless, they accepted the challenge. The technological challenges that the Pixar team faced would have brought many to their knees in tears. The software and hardware to pull off this task just didn't exist. So they all went home and they cried in the corner, just like I did when I couldn't get into the D23 panel for the Haunted Mansion.
Gosh, build a bridge, bro.
That's actually not what they did. Instead, they created the hardware and software needed to pull off these tasks.
That's a baller move.
It is. The story itself went through many creative changes, including one of which saw our hero, Sheriff Woody, as kind of a jerk. By trying to create this edgy character, Woody became off-putting and a bit of a bully, which really didn't work with their script. His character was so bad that the entire production was halted until he was recreated and approved by the Disney company. At this point, they were afraid that Disney wasn't coming back, and Steve Jobs had to personally fund the project until Disney was back on board. But what about a musical? Disney's all about musicals, right? Wrong. This was not your run-of-the-mill Disney movie. The characters wouldn't be singing, and when Disney came to the table with a few songs that they wanted in the project, Pixar instantly shut it down. There was no princesses, which was really Disney's forte at the time, and still kind of is for the most part. And something else that Disney kept trying to quote-unquote correct was that the focus was on the toys and not the kids playing with the toys. So they kept adding more human characters and kind of ruining the story. And it wasn't until this young writer came into the fold. You might know him now. So this writer by the name of Joss Whedon. Sound familiar to you?
Yep.
He came in and essentially gave us the Toy Story that we know today. Pixar had asked for about 3 months to retool the movie once Disney said that they weren't interested, to get closer to a storyline that Disney would be happy with. And they were able to just meet that goal with enough new storyboards to keep Disney interested. Overall, the Pixar team had decided that they would not only concentrate on their technical know-how, which is really what Disney hired them for, but also the story. The story had to be just right, and it finally was. Animation-wise, the team thought that they could render out everything they needed over 20 months using 53 computers in a render farm. Pfft, boy, were they wrong. That number grew to 300 just to keep up with the taxing nature of the rendering process. Yeah. And, I mean, if you remember what Toy Story 1 looks like, it's very rudimentary compared to what Toy Story 4 looks like today. And by comparison, their render farms are now in the dozens of thousands.
Yeah.
The next part was getting the voices right. The all-star ensemble that made up the voices in Toy Story 1 was a who's who in Hollywood. Pixar hired Tom Hanks and Tim Allen for Woody the Cowboy and Buzz Lightyear. Among others were Annie Potts, Don Rickles, Wallace Shawn, John Ratzenberger, Jim Varney, and many more. Over the course of several years, many sleepless nights, algorithms were tweaked, stories were rewritten, frames were rendered, and voices were recorded. Oh yeah, but what about that music part? Well, it was Randy Newman that was brought in to give the film its musical flair with amazing tunes that is just relatable to all ages and are just timeless. Regardless of who you are, where you come from, you can relate to every single piece in Toy Story. It was the perfect punctuation for this film. Toy Story went on to premiere at the El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles, in California on November 19th, 1995, and was released in all of North America just a few days later. It was the highest grossing film that opening weekend, earning over $373 million at the worldwide box office. It was a critic's dream, and audiences absolutely loved it. The technical innovation that was brought forth with this 3D film, and just the themes, the wit, the dialogue, the music was just absolutely amazing. Nothing like it had ever been put together. It went on to receive Academy Award nominations, including Best Original Screenplay, Best Original Song for You've Got a Friend in Me, and Best Original Score, as well as winning the Special Achievement Academy Award. In 2005, which was the first year that it actually became eligible, it was inducted into the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. Toy Story 1 went on to give us 3 other Toy Story films, and although we've talked about it in the past that we truly felt that Toy Story 3 was a really good bookend, after watching Toy Story 4, personally, I feel that they did a really good job of finalizing this entire storyline for these characters. Outside of that, we've also gotten a retheming of an entire land at California Adventure. We have Pixar Pier. And of course, we see these characters sprinkled around Disney parks all over the world, from Toy Story Mania to Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. And to wrap everything up, I guess when you really think back on everything that this team put together and everything that they did, it really does go to show that Walt Disney was right that it really is kind of fun to do the impossible.
Yep. That's true. That's kind of perfect that you said that, because Toy Story kind of has a parallel to Walt Disney Animation in that it's kind of Pixar's Snow White.
Yep.
It was their first feature animated film, and in a compressed way, they kind of cut their chops with some shorts, some commercials and things like that, and then they finally honed all their skills and created a feature-length film, which for a long time was arguably their best film, and in many ways might still be the best story they ever told. And, getting like a special achievement Oscar because they don't have a category. It's like so many similarities to Snow White, right? So I really do kind of see that as the Snow White of Pixar. I remember when it came out, I don't know if I was in the majority or not, but I was in the camp that was hesitant to jump on the bandwagon of a computer animated film. And, my passion for 2D animation was already very strong. The years before that, we got Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, like all these epic, amazing films in this new golden era of Disney animation. And then here comes this upstart wanting to bring us CG.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, CG's not as good. It can't be. It's dumb. Well, of course, I fell in love with Toy Story like the rest of the world did. And so much of it is that amazing story that they told. And, you mentioned it, the relatability of it and the good message of it, which I thought was really cool. It was a really positive, beautiful message. It's so good. It's hard to argue that it's not still possibly their best film. I think they've advanced their animation in leaps and bounds, but as far as storytelling and character development, it's hard to top Toy Story, man.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a fantastic film.
And a lot of people agree with you, including some of the animators and some of the ones that were part of that original brain trust that you've heard us talk about at Pixar, right? I believe it was at South by Southwest a few years ago when Toy Story celebrated its 20th anniversary. I don't remember exactly what the quote was. I'm paraphrasing at this point, but I think it was Andrew Stanton that said, visually, it may have been one of the ugliest things we've ever put together, but the story was so good that it just compelled people to watch it over and over again. And it's true. I mean, when you look at the weird lips on Sid and Andy and like the weird facial features that they do, I mean, again, just to put that together the way that they did, truth be told, that was one of the main focuses as to why I even started learning 3D animation. Toy Story was really one of the drivers for me. And because Disney had already been dabbling in CG, we saw it with Beauty and the Beast just several years back when they created the ballroom scene. And
well, they'd already been using digital cell animation as early as Little Mermaid.
Right.
Yeah.
But, they were really trying to push forth that medium, and they knew that they were reaching limitations with what they could do. And when Pixar was right there, the bright shining star, earning all of these awards and accolades, they thought, okay, well, let's bring them on. And, ultimately, they went on to purchase Pixar. And in this crazy roundabout way, after John Lasseter got fired all those years after working on Mickey's Christmas Carol, he was once again employed with the Disney company. And, the whole Pixar story itself and the bitter feud and everything that ensued, I think that's a whole other story that we can tell at some point, and I think we will. But, yeah, just to wrap this all into a nice snuggly blanket for you, it's turned out really well. And we owe a lot to Toy Story because not only did Toy Story give us this amazing franchise with this amazing set of characters that we've all grown to love, I think it spawned the imagination of so many animators and storytellers around the world. And outside of that, the technology like RenderMan and all these other things that Pixar created are being used by other animation studios to create their works of art as well. So, I mean, we owe Toy Story a lot when it comes to filmmaking.
Sure, I agree. It has created a new category of filmmaking, in essence. I wanted to touch on something you mentioned a minute ago, and that's about the look of Toy Story and how it looks dated now, and it's obviously not as advanced in its textures and lighting and things like that. That's the problem with computer animation in general, is that it becomes dated relatively quickly. And that's where I find the superiority of 2D animation comes in, because that type of filmmaking doesn't almost ever become dated looking. It always looks the way it's supposed to look. But for whatever reason, our minds want to dissect computer animation with the ideal of realism, being in the forefront of our minds. Now, I don't know what this is psychologically, but this is how we see CG. And so, the most advanced animated things they've ever done. So let's take Toy Story 4, which is arguably their most exquisitely beautiful animated thing they've done. In 10 years, we're going to see all the cracks in that,
Right.
Because CG animation will have advanced even farther. Something like Piper, which when it came out was like, oh my gosh, what are we looking at? This is unbelievable. In 10 years, it's going to look like child's play, because CG has a different set of rules to it, visually. So it's interesting to watch that progression, but I think we can still look at Toy Story as a work of art and supremely impressive for its time, because it has some lighting in it that is to this day absolutely impressive. There's some shots of Andy's house at dusk with the sunset and that like gold and orange lighting hitting it. There are scenes in Sid's bedroom with, the light coming in through the window, and you can see, how that is lighting the room. And it's so palpable and like amazing the way they did it. And, so we truly had talent and amazing artists working on those early films, and they've just kind of grown the skills and abilities of their software more than anything, because they already had the skills and abilities to create that level of art. They just needed a tool to be able to keep up with them, right?
Right.
So that's the fascinating and impressive thing about Pixar, is that they've been basically developing their own paints and paintbrushes and canvases, like artists used to have to do 500 years ago. They couldn't just go to an art supply store, so they had to make it themselves, right? That's what Pixar's doing. They're making their own art supplies, and it's impressive.
Yeah, it's funny. The question that you asked right now is something that I've asked myself before as well. And I think the conclusion that I came to personally is that in the last 20 years, technology has advanced faster than it ever has. And because of that, I think our minds have been conditioned to move at the speed of technology. Because of that, we look at traditional 2D animation as something from the past that won't ever advance. Right? Even though it can, and even though it will, I think that's how we see it. And even when you look at something like the cartoons that are on, like Gravity Falls, for instance, or DuckTales, when you look at that type of animation, that's not traditional 2D animation, but it's based on it. And yet people see it more synonymously with 2D animation than they do with CG or computer animation. And so I think our brain has just settled into 2D animation is a thing of the past, 3D is a new thing, and we have to see how it's advancing and how much it can trick us into thinking that we're in this real world scenario. Because outside of feature films like Toy Story, the fact that these same computer-generated effects are giving us these worlds, like in Avengers Endgame, giving us these props, these costumes, these mechanisms for which to tell this story, that is creating this weird connection yet disconnection in our brains, telling us this is what you should be looking for, not 2D animation, you know?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. I think there's probably something to that. You know, it's always fascinated me, and it's always, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, you know, in comparison with other art forms, you know, like painting versus sculpture versus drawing, you know, like I don't necessarily see one as more technologically advanced than the other. So this is kind of a unique scenario in art where it's technology that's maybe it's like the advent of photography. You know, that was kind of an advancement in the two-dimensional image as an art form. You know, technology aided that, right? It's weird. It's just kind of unique, and it's hard for me to process why we understand these things so differently. This is probably super boring and too philosophical for this podcast, but you know, these are the kinds of things I contemplate when I'm sitting there watching Toy Story 4. You know,
it's okay, buddy.
Which is what people are probably shouting at me saying, just enjoy the movie for the love.
If it makes you feel any better, I think of that stuff too.
Yeah, I don't know. My final thoughts on the Toy Story franchise, though, you know, I do think that Toy Story was a masterpiece. It was the most amazing way to start their run of hit making. I thought Toy Story 2 was okay. I'm glad we got Jessie out of it, but that's basically all we got out of it in my book. And then Toy Story 3 was just so exquisitely beautiful in its storytelling. I think with Toy Story 4, they have fully fallen into the trap of, okay, we caught lightning in a bottle with Toy Story. If we just keep going back to that well, it'll never run dry. And I just hope that they're done with it at this point. You know, I need to rewatch it again with open eyes again and try and enjoy it more than I did the first time. But yeah, I think that well is dry. I love what they gave us, but I'm ready for Onward and everything they have to offer us beyond that.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Well, I think that's a great place for us to end this Toy Story discussion. I think if anybody out there listening has any thoughts on what we were just talking about, you know, this disconnect between 2D animation and 3D and computer animation, you know, join the conversation. Leave us your thoughts over on Instagram, Facebook, send us a message on Twitter, or leave a comment in the blog post for this episode over at podketeers.com/266. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and we could talk about them in an upcoming episode.
Real quick, who's your favorite Toy Story character?
I don't know. That's hard, man. Like there's so much of me that wants to go with Mr. Potato Head because he's just so like cranky and snappy and like just you know, Don Rickles is just he's just so good. But there's a lot of noble qualities in Buzz Lightyear that I really enjoy, and yet that noble aspect is just escalated in Woody. The aliens are pretty dope. I mean, I don't know, man. You put me in a weird situation right now. I might have to think about that.
Okay. I'm Woody. I'm all the way Woody.
Okay.
Yeah, with a close second being Mr. Pricklepants.
Oh, Mr. Pricklepants. He's so good, too.
He just cracks me up.
Yeah. Well, see, Rex cracks me up, too. He's like, I can't
Rex
reach.
is
Like,
good.
his hands and everything, they're so small.
Yeah.
Like,
I like Ham. I've always been a Ratzenberger
Yes.
fan, and he's like the ultimate legacy actor for Pixar movies.
The evil Dr. Porkchop.
So, yeah, he's amazing.
So good. I don't know. I mean, should we... I guess you can kind of wrap it up with, like, it's got to be Andy, because this is all from Andy's imagination. But then
now
the
it's from
toys,
Bonnie's imagination.
Well, now it's from Bonnie's, but is it really? Because technically the toys come to life because it's his. I don't know.
All I know is that Sid is one of the most underrated villains of all time.
Oh my god, yeah.
That dude is just evil, man.
He's the Scar of the digital world.
I love how they get him in the end. It's so genius.
All right, well, I think that's going to end the episode for this week. Again, if you have any thoughts on anything that we talked about, feel free to join the conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And before we wrap up, I do want to quickly remind you that if you like this podcast and you just can't become a fairy godparent like we talked about earlier, we have a really great way for you to help us out. If you shop on Amazon, before you make your next purchase, start by going over to podketeers.com/Amazon and clicking on the big Amazon button, because doing so will take you to Amazon using our special link, and anything that you buy will earn us a small commission as a thank you from Amazon because we mentioned them on this podcast and you went through the trouble of doing the clickety-clack and going over to Amazon. And to everybody that's already doing that, we just want to send a huge thank you for your support as well. So with that said, it's time to wrap it up this week. So until next time, keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic. Have a great week, everyone.
Made you look.